The attic of Clara Harper's bungalow was a time capsule, its air thick with the scent of dust, old paper, and faded dreams. Emily Harper knelt on the creaky floorboards, her knees aching against the worn wood as she sifted through her late grandmother's belongings. The summer heat seeped through the slanted roof, pressing against her skin like a heavy hand. Sweat trickled down her neck, soaking into the faded Memphis Grizzlies t-shirt she'd thrown on that morning. At 32, Emily felt more like a ghost than a journalist, haunted by the weight of a year without Clara, the woman who'd raised her, loved her, and filled her childhood with stories of a Memphis that sparkled with music and mystery. What would you do if you lost everything, and everyone, who mattered? The question clawed at Emily's chest as she opened another cardboard box, its edges soft with age. Her fingers brushed against a chipped teacup, a stack of yellowed letters tied with a frayed ribbon, and a Polaroid of Clara smiling in a polka-dot dress, her eyes bright with secrets. Emily's throat tightened. Clara had been gone a year, but the grief was a bruise that throbbed with every heartbeat, every quiet moment in this house that no longer felt like home. Her editor, Mike, had given her an ultimatum: deliver a story that could save her job at the Memphis Daily News, or she was out. Journalism wasn't what it used to be. Clickbait and hot takes had replaced the investigative pieces Emily loved. Her stories felt flat, her deadlines loomed like storm clouds, and the spark she'd once had was buried under the weight of loss. But tonight, in the attic's stifling heat, something felt different. The air hummed with possibility, like the moment before a song begins, and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Clara was still here, guiding her. She reached into a box and pulled out a vinyl record sleeve, its colors faded but unmistakable: Elvis Presley, frozen mid-performance, his black hair gleaming under stage lights, a smirk curling his lips. The title, "Love Me Tender," was printed in bold, curling letters, evoking a Memphis that pulsed with rhythm and legend. Clara had been a seamstress in the 60s and 70s, stitching costumes for Graceland's staff and occasionally crossing paths with the king himself. Her stories about Elvis were vivid: his charm, his laughter, the way he'd hum while signing autographs for fans outside the gates. But it was Mary Jenkins, Elvis's maid, who lingered in Emily's memory. Clara had spoken of her with a quiet reverence, describing a woman who was kind but guarded, her eyes holding secrets she never shared. Mary had died in 1977, the same year as Elvis, under circumstances Clara only hinted at: a sudden illness, a whispered tragedy. Emily traced the record sleeve, her fingers lingering on the worn edges. As she lifted it, something slipped out, fluttering to the dusty floor like a leaf from a forgotten tree. Her heart skipped. She bent down, picking up a yellowed piece of paper, folded tight and fragile with age. Unfolding it carefully, she squinted at the faint, looping handwriting, Clara's handwriting, unmistakable even after all these years: Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song. Ask the AI. The words hit like a lightning bolt, sharp and electric. Mary's truth. The king. And AI. That last part didn't fit. Clara had never been tech-savvy, her world was needle and thread, not algorithms or artificial intelligence. Emily's mind raced to her best friend, Sarah, a tech enthusiast who'd been buzzing about XAI, Elon Musk's company, and their AI called Grok. Sarah had spent weeks raving about how Grok could sift through decades of data, old recordings, documents, even forgotten voices. In seconds, uncovering patterns no human could find. Could this note be connected? Was it a clue, a message from Clara, left for Emily to find? Her phone buzzed on the floor, snapping her back to the moment. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Emily hit speaker, her voice trembling with excitement. "Sarah, you won't believe what I just found." "Spill it," Sarah said, her voice bright with curiosity, crackling through the phone's tinny speaker. "What's in Clara's attic now? Another Elvis bobblehead? A sequin jumpsuit?" Emily held the note to the dim light of the attic's single bulb, reading aloud: "Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song. Ask the AI. It's in Clara's handwriting, Sarah. What does this mean?" Mary Jenkins was her friend, right? The maid at Graceland? Sarah gasped, the sound sharp and electric. Oh my God, Em. You're kidding. XAI's been working on a project with Graceland's archives. Grok found something weird. A voice in the background of an unreleased Elvis track from the 70s. They think it's Mary Jenkins, saying something cryptic. Nobody's figured out what it means yet, but it's big. You need to contact them. This could be your big break. Emily's pulse quickened, her fingers tightening around the note. A mystery tied to Elvis Presley, her grandmother, and cutting-edge AI. It was the kind of story that could pull her out of her slump, maybe even make her name in journalism. But doubt crept in, cold and familiar. What if it was nothing? A dead end, like so many of her leads lately. She glanced at the record sleeve, picturing Clara's smile as she'd hum Can't Help Falling in Love while sewing late into the night. Clara had believed in Emily, even when Emily doubted herself. This note, this mystery, it was a chance to honor that belief, to find a story worth telling. Sarah, how do I even reach XAI? Emily asked, tucking the note into the pocket of her jeans. It's Elon Musk's company. They're not exactly taking random calls from struggling journalists. Email them, Sarah said, her voice brimming with confidence. They've got a public contact for research inquiries. Mention the note, Mary, and Graceland. If Grok's involved, they'll bite. This is it. Don't let it slip. Emily nodded, though Sarah couldn't see her. She grabbed her laptop from a nearby box, its glow casting eerie shadows across the attic's slanted walls. Her fingers hovered over the keys, then began to type, Dear XAI team, my name is Emily Harper, a journalist in Memphis. I found a note among my grandmother's belongings referencing Mary Jenkins, a maid at Graceland, and an AI discovery tied to her. It mentions the truth and where the king sang his last song. Can you help me understand what this means? She hit send, her heart pounding like a drum. The attic seemed to hold its breath, the silence broken only by the faint creak of the house settling. Somewhere, in the tangle of Memphis's past and Silicon Valley's future, a truth was waiting. But would it save Emily, or unravel everything she thought she knew about her family, her city, and the king himself? Her phone buzzed again, a text from Mike. Deadline's tomorrow. Got anything yet? Emily's stomach twisted. She typed a vague reply, promising a pitch soon. If this note led nowhere, she'd be out of a job, back to square one in a city that felt more like a museum of her failures than a home. But the note in her pocket felt like a talisman, a promise of answers. She closed her eyes, picturing Clara's hands threading a needle, her voice soft as she told stories of Graceland's golden days. Mary was special, Clara had said once, her eyes distant. She saw things nobody else did. Kept Em close, like a vow. Emily had been too young to press for details, but now those words echoed like a clue. What had Mary seen? And why had Clara left this note, pointing to an AI decades after Mary's death? Outside, Memphis hummed with life, neon lights flickering on Beale Street, the Mississippi River's quiet flow, the ghosts of music past lingering in the air. Emily stood, brushing dust from her jeans. She'd call Sarah tomorrow, dig into Graceland's history, and chase down whatever XAI knew. The note was a spark, and she wasn't ready to let it fade. Hey, reader, what would you do if a single note could rewrite history? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one thing that keeps you pushing forward when life gets tough? Rain tapped against the windows of Clara Harper's bungalow, a soft rhythm that reminded Emily of late nights spent listening to her grandmother's stories. She sat at the kitchen table, a chipped mug of coffee cooling in her hands, the mysterious note from the attic tucked into the pocket of her jeans. She hadn't slept much, her mind tangled with questions about Mary Jenkins, the cryptic message, and why Clara had hidden it inside an Elvis record sleeve. The words, Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song. Ask the AI, felt like a riddle from a life she'd only half understood. Today, she'd start unraveling it. The kitchen was unchanged since Clara's death, its yellow linoleum and faded floral curtains frozen in time. Emily could almost see her grandmother at the stove, humming Can't Help Falling in Love as she stirred a pot of collard greens. Clara had been Emily's anchor, raising her after her mother, Laura, left when Emily was 8. Those years with Clara were filled with warmth, bedtime stories, summer evenings on the porch, and tales of Memphis in its musical heyday. But there were gaps in those stories, silences Emily hadn't noticed as a child. Now, at 32, those silences loomed like shadows, and the note felt like Clara's way of speaking from beyond the grave. Emily stood, her bare feet cold against the floor, and crossed to the living room shelf. She pulled down a photo album, its leather cover worn soft from years of handling. The pages crinkled as she opened it, revealing Polaroids and faded snapshots of her childhood. One photo stopped her, Clara, her graying hair pulled into a bun, standing outside Graceland's iconic gates, her arm around a woman with warm brown eyes and a cautious smile. The caption, in Clara's neat handwriting, read, "With Mary, 1975. Emily's breath caught. Mary Jenkins. The maid from Clara's stories, the one who'd worked at Graceland, who'd been more than a housekeeper to Elvis Presley. Clara had described her as a quiet force, someone who saw everything but said little, her loyalty to the king unwavering. But there was always a weight to those stories, a hesitation in Clara's voice, as if she were guarding something. Mary was special, Clara had said one night when Emily was 12, the two of them sewing patches onto a quilt under the glow of a lamp. She saw things nobody else did. Kept M close, like a vow. Emily had been too young to press for details, distracted by the needle in her hand and the melody of Clara's humming. Now, those words felt like a clue, a thread connecting the note to a secret Clara had carried to her grave. Emily's thoughts drifted to her mother, Laura, the shadow in every memory. Laura had left Memphis when Emily was a child, chasing a life that didn't include her daughter or her mother. Their rare phone calls were strained, filled with awkward silences and unspoken resentments. Clara had never explained why Laura left, only saying, "Some folks run from what hurts too much to face." Emily wondered if Laura knew about Mary, if she held pieces of this puzzle. The thought of calling her mother stirred a mix of hope and dread, but the note's urgency pushed her forward. If Clara had left this clue, it was for Emily to follow. Her phone pinged, jarring her from her thoughts. An email from XAI. Her heart raced as she opened it. "Dear Ms. Harper, your inquiry is intriguing. Our AI, Grok, has identified an anomaly in a 1977 Graceland recording, possibly Mary Jenkins's voice, embedded in an unreleased Elvis track. The audio is faint but suggestive of a deliberate message. We'd like to discuss further. Please call our research team at." Emily stared at the screen, her coffee forgotten. This was real. Mary Jenkins, a maid who died decades ago, had left something behind, and Elon Musk's AI had found it. But what was the truth? And why had Clara pointed her to it now? She dialed Sarah, her best friend since high school, who answered on the first ring. Tell me you called XAI already," Sarah said, her voice buzzing with excitement. "I've been up all night thinking about that note." "I just got an email from them," Emily said, pacing the kitchen. "They found Mary's voice in an Elvis recording. Something about a message." "Sarah, this is insane. Why would Clara write about AI? She barely used a flip phone." Sarah laughed, the sound bright and grounding. "Clara was always full of surprises. Remember how she'd sneak those extra cookies into your lunch? Maybe she knew more than she let on. You need to call XAI, like, yesterday. And go to Graceland. If Mary's truth is tied to Elvis, that's where you'll find it." Emily glanced at the photo of Clara and Mary, their smiles hiding something unspoken. Sarah was right, Graceland was the next step. But the weight of the mystery pressed against her. What if this story was too big, too tangled? What if it led to truths about Clara, or Laura, that Emily wasn't ready to face? Her career was on the line, but this felt personal, like a debt she owed her grandmother. She thought back to a summer night when she was 16, sitting on the porch with Clara, fireflies flickering in the yard. Clara had been mending a dress, her fingers deft with the needle, when she'd paused, her eyes distant. Graceland wasn't just about Elvis, she'd said. It was about the people around him, folks like Mary, who kept his world turning. They had stories, too, but nobody listened. Emily had nodded, not fully understanding, but now those words felt like a map, guiding her toward the note's meaning. Her phone buzzed again, Mike, her editor, texting, pitch meetings at noon. Don't show up empty-handed. Emily's stomach twisted. She'd been dodging Mike's demands for weeks, her stories falling flat under the pressure of grief and burnout. This mystery could be her salvation, but it could also be a wild goose chase. She typed a quick reply, working on something big. Need a few days, and hit send before she could second-guess herself. Emily returned to the photo album, flipping through more pages. Another snapshot showed her as a child, maybe 6, sitting on Clara's lap at a church picnic, both of them laughing. Clara had been her everything, mother, grandmother, storyteller. But Laura's absence was a wound that never healed, a question mark in every happy memory. If Laura knew something about Mary, about this truth, Emily would have to face her, no matter how much it hurt. She stood, slipping the photo of Clara and Mary into her pocket alongside the note. The rain had softened to a drizzle, and Memphis lay beyond the window, its skyline a mix of old brick and modern glass, Beale Street's neon glow just out of sight. Emily felt the city's pulse, its history of music and secrets, calling her to act. She'd call XAI, visit Graceland, and chase this story wherever it led. Clara had left her this note for a reason, and Emily wasn't ready to let her down. As she grabbed her keys, a memory surfaced, Clara's voice, soft and steady, saying, "The truth's worth finding, Emily, no matter how deep it's buried." Those words felt like a promise now, a spark to keep her moving forward. Whatever Mary Jenkins had hidden, whatever Clara had known, Emily would find it, even if it meant rewriting her own story in the process. Emily Harper sat in her beat-up Honda Civic outside the Memphis Daily News office, the engine ticking as it cooled in the muggy haze. The morning rain had faded, leaving behind a sticky warmth that clung to her skin, the air heavy with the scent of wet pavement and blooming magnolias. Her phone screen glowed with the XAI email, its words searing into her mind. Grok has identified an anomaly in a 1977 Graceland recording, possibly Mary Jenkins's voice. We'd like to discuss further. Her fingers hovered over the number provided, her heart pounding like a drum solo from an old Elvis track. The note from Clara, tucked in her jeans pocket, felt like a talisman, urging her forward. This was her shot, a story that could save her career or bury her under another failure. She took a deep breath, the weight of Clara's absence pressing against her chest, and dialed. The line crackled briefly before a calm voice answered. XAI Research, Dr. Priya Patel speaking. Dr. Patel, this is Emily Harper from Memphis, Emily said, clutching the phone like a lifeline. I emailed about the note I found. About Mary Jenkins and a message tied to Elvis Presley. You mentioned a recording. There was a pause, charged with anticipation. Yes, Ms. Harper, Patel said, her tone measured but intrigued. Our AI, Grok, has been analyzing Graceland's audio archives for a historical project. In an unreleased 1977 recording from Elvis's Jungle Room sessions, we detected a faint voice in the background, likely Mary Jenkins, based on vocal patterns and context. She says, the truth is in the blue suede heart. It's deliberate, not ambient noise. We don't know what it means, but it's unusual. Emily's pulse quickened. Blue suede heart, she echoed, her mind racing. Was it a metaphor? A code? A reference to Elvis's iconic blue suede shoes? Do you have any guesses about what she's talking about? Not yet, Patel admitted. The phrase is cryptic, and the recording is degraded. But the fact that your grandmother's note mentions AI and Mary suggests a connection. We'd like to share the audio file with you, but it's sensitive. Can you meet with our team in Memphis next week? We're collaborating with Graceland's curators. Emily scribbled the details on a crumpled receipt, her hands trembling. I'll be there. Thank you. She hung up, staring out the windshield at the Daily News building, its brick facade worn but sturdy, like the city itself. The words blue suede heart echoed in her head, a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Clara's note had pointed her to this moment, but the path ahead felt like a tightrope over a canyon. She grabbed her laptop bag and headed inside, the newsroom's buzz hitting her like a wave. Phones rang, keyboards clacked, and the smell of burnt coffee lingered. Mike, her editor, was at his desk, his bald head gleaming under fluorescent lights. "Harper, you're late," he barked, barely looking up from his computer. "Pitch meeting's in 10. Got anything, or are we done here?" Emily's stomach twisted. Mike had been on her case for weeks, her recent stories too safe, too forgettable. She slid into a chair across from him, clutching the note in her pocket for courage. "I've got something big," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "A mystery tied to Elvis Presley and his maid, Mary Jenkins. My grandmother left a note about a hidden truth, and XAI's grok found Mary's voice in an unreleased recording. She says, the truth is in the blue suede heart. I'm meeting their team to dig deeper." Mike raised an eyebrow, his skepticism sharp as a blade. "Elvis? AI? Sounds like a conspiracy theory for the tabloids, Harper. You've got 1 week to prove it's not a waste of my time. Bring me something concrete, or you're out." Emily nodded, swallowing her fear. "You'll have it." She left his office, her resolve hardening. Mike's doubt was a familiar sting, but Clara's note was a spark she couldn't ignore. She needed answers, not just for her job but for herself, for the grandmother who'd believed in her when no one else did. Back in her car, she called Sarah, her best friend's voice a lifeline in the storm of her thoughts. "Sarah, XAI confirmed it," Emily said, the words tumbling out. "Mary's voice is in a 1977 recording. She says something about a blue suede heart. They want me to meet them at Graceland." Sarah let out a whoop that made Emily wince. This is huge. You're basically Indiana Jones, but with better hair." "Okay, next step, Graceland's archives. They've got tons of records, letters, photos, maybe even something about Mary. I'll come with you. My tech brain might spot something you miss." Emily smiled, the knot in her chest loosening. Sarah's enthusiasm was infectious, a reminder that she wasn't alone. "Deal. Can you meet me tomorrow? I'm heading to Graceland to talk to the curators." "Wouldn't miss it," Sarah said. "Oh, and this is Clara talking to you. Don't let her down." The words hit hard, stirring a memory of Clara's voice, soft and steady, as they sat on the bungalow's porch one summer night. Emily had been 15, her heart bruised from a fight with Laura over the phone. Clara had pulled her close, pointing to the fireflies flickering in the yard. "Life's like those lights, Emily," she'd said. "It blinks on and off, but you keep chasing the glow." Mary Jenkins did that, too. She found light in the shadows of Graceland. Emily hadn't understood then, but now, with the note and XAI's discovery, she wondered what shadows Mary had faced. As she drove toward home, Memphis unfolded around her, Beale Street's neon signs just out of sight, the Mississippi River glinting under the afternoon sun, the city's heartbeat pulsing with music and memory. Graceland was a shrine to Elvis, but it held secrets, too, and Emily was determined to uncover them. The blue suede heart was a clue, but to what? A scandal? A secret act of kindness? And why had Clara tied it to AI, decades before such technology existed? Her phone buzzed with another text from Mike, "Don't let this Elvis thing tank you." Emily ignored it, her mind on the photo of Clara and Mary from the album. Their smiles had been warm but guarded, as if they shared a truth too heavy to speak. She thought of Laura, her mother, who might know more but hadn't spoken to Emily in months. The idea of calling her felt like stepping into a minefield, but if Laura held answers about Mary, Emily would have to face her. She pulled into the bungalow's driveway, the rain-dampened porch creaking as she stepped inside. The photo album lay open on the kitchen table, Clara and Mary's faces staring up at her. Emily traced Mary's smile, a mix of hope and doubt swirling in her chest. This story was bigger than her career, it was about Clara, about Memphis, about a woman whose voice had been silenced for decades. Whatever the blue suede heart meant, Emily would find it, even if it meant confronting her own past along the way. The gates of Graceland loomed before Emily Harper, their wrought iron music notes glinting under the Memphis sun. She stood on the sidewalk, her sneakers scuffing the pavement, the weight of Clara's note heavy in her pocket. The mansion's white columns rose like sentinels, guarding a legacy that felt both sacred and haunted. Tourists milled around, snapping selfies and clutching Elvis-themed souvenirs, their chatter a low hum against the distant strum of a busker's guitar on Elvis Presley Boulevard. Emily's heart raced, not just from the prospect of answers, but from the sense that she was stepping into a story bigger than herself. Sarah bounced beside her, clutching a notebook crammed with scribbled tech notes about XAI's grok and its audio analysis. "This place is unreal," Sarah said, her eyes wide as she took in the sprawling estate. "It's like walking into a time machine." "You ready to play detective, Em?" Emily managed a half-smile, her nerves tingling. "Ready as I'll ever be." "Let's find out what Mary Jenkins was hiding." The note's words, "Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song," echoed in her mind, tangled with XAI's revelation about Mary's voice in a 1977 recording, "The truth is in the blue suede heart." Graceland held the key, but the mansion's opulence felt like a labyrinth, its rooms brimming with secrets. Inside, the air was cool and hushed, a stark contrast to the sticky May heat. Curator Tom Bradley met them in the foyer, his gray hair neatly combed, his eyes crinkling with the warmth of someone who'd spent decades steeped in Elvis's world. "Emily Harper?" he asked, extending a hand. Dr. Patel from XAI called ahead. "Said you're chasing a story about Mary Jenkins." "That's right," Emily said, shaking his hand. "My grandmother, Clara, knew Mary. She left a note suggesting Mary hid something here, something tied to a blue suede heart. I'm hoping the archives can help." Tom's smile faltered, just for a moment, before he nodded. Mary was a quiet soul, but she had a presence. Worked here through the 60s and 70s, kept the place running like clockwork. Folks said she knew things she never told. He led them through the jungle room, its green shag carpet and tiki statues a vivid relic of Elvis's eclectic taste. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and nostalgia, and Emily could almost hear the echo of Elvis's voice, crooning through the walls. "Things like what?" Sarah asked, her pen poised over her notebook. "Rumors? Secrets?" Tom paused near a glass case displaying one of Elvis's sequin jumpsuits. Mary was loyal to Elvis, maybe more than anyone. But she was private. When she died in 77, sudden, heart failure, they said, there were whispers she'd hidden something in the house. A letter, maybe, or a keepsake. Nobody ever found it. Emily's pulse quickened. Hidden where? And why? She thought of Clara's stories, the way her grandmother's voice softened when she spoke of Mary, as if guarding a fragile truth. Tom shrugged, leading them toward the archives in a quieter wing of the mansion. Could be anywhere, Graceland's got more nooks than a cathedral. Mary spent a lot of time in the jungle room, though. Elvis recorded there in 76 and 77. If she hid something, that's a good place to start. The archives were a maze of shelves and filing cabinets, stacked with letters, photos, and yellowed documents. The air was thick with the musty scent of history, and Emily felt a shiver, as if Graceland itself were watching. Tom handed her a box labeled Staff Records, 1970 to 1977. "This might have something on Mary," he said. "I'll leave you to it. Holler if you need me." Emily and Sarah dove in, sifting through payroll stubs, schedules, and faded Polaroids. A photo caught Emily's eye, Mary Jenkins, her face warm but guarded, standing in the jungle room with a mop in hand. The caption read, "Mary J., 1976. Emily traced the image, her fingers brushing the edges of a memory. Clara had mentioned Mary's quiet strength, her knack for fading into the background while seeing everything. Had she hidden something in this very room? Sarah pulled out a letter, its paper brittle. Look at this. It's from Mary to someone named Clara, your Clara, maybe. It's dated 1977, just before she died. The letter was brief, the ink faded. Clara, I've done what I could. The truth is safe, where the heart sings. Forgive me for the silence." Emily's breath caught. The heart again. Was this the blue suede heart? And why had Mary asked for forgiveness? "This is it," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Clara and Mary were protecting something. But what? And where? Sarah's eyes gleamed. The jungle room. Tom said Mary spent time there, and the note mentions, where the king sang his last song. Elvis's final recordings were in that room. We need to check it out. They returned to the jungle room, its garish decor now feeling less like a tourist attraction and more like a puzzle box. Emily ran her hands along the wood-paneled walls, searching for hidden seams or loose panels. The tourists' chatter faded, replaced by a strange stillness, as if the room held its breath. Sarah tapped her phone, pulling up a diagram of Graceland's layout she'd found online. If Mary hid something, it'd be subtle, behind a vent, under the carpet, maybe in a piece of furniture. Emily knelt by the shag rug, her fingers brushing the coarse fibers. Nothing. She stood, her gaze falling on a framed gold record on the wall, Blue Suede Shoes, one of Elvis's biggest hits. Her heart skipped. Sarah, what if the blue suede heart isn't a metaphor? What if it's literal, tied to this song? Before Sarah could respond, Emily felt a prickle on her neck, like eyes boring into her back. She turned, scanning the room, but saw only tourists and a security guard by the door. The unease lingered, a whisper of warning. Was someone watching, or was Graceland's history playing tricks on her mind? She thought of Clara's note, its urgency, and the XAI recording. Mary had left a message, and someone, maybe Clara, had wanted it found. But why now, decades later? You okay? Sarah asked, her brow furrowed. You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I have, Emily murmured, forcing a smile. Let's keep looking. If Mary hid something here, we're close. She didn't voice the fear gnawing at her, that uncovering Mary's truth might stir up more than history. The shadows of Graceland felt alive, and Emily wasn't sure she was ready for what they held. As they left the jungle room, Tom caught up with them, his expression curious. Find anything? He asked, his voice low. Not yet, Emily said, clutching the letter from Mary. But I think we're on the right track. Can we come back tomorrow? I want to check the jungle room again. Tom nodded, but his eyes flickered with something, caution, maybe, or recognition. Be careful, Miss Harper. Graceland's got a way of holding on to its secrets. Emily's stomach tightened, but she nodded. Back outside, the Memphis sun was sinking, casting long shadows across the lawn. She and Sarah climbed into her car, the letter and photo tucked into her bag. The mystery was growing, and with it, a sense that someone, or something, didn't want it solved. Emily Harper sat at the kitchen table in Clara's bungalow, the letter from Mary Jenkins to her grandmother spread out before her like a map to a lost world. The ink was faded, the paper brittle, but the words burned bright. Clara, I've done what I could. The truth is safe, where the heart sings. Forgive me for the silence. The phrase echoed the note Emily had found in the attic, where the king sang his last song, tying Mary's secret to Graceland's jungle room. The Memphis night pressed against the windows, thick with humidity and the faint hum of cicadas. Emily's coffee had gone cold, but her mind was ablaze, piecing together fragments of a puzzle that felt both personal and impossibly vast. She traced the letter's looping script, her thoughts drifting to Clara. Her grandmother had been her rock, raising her after Laura, her mother, left when Emily was 8. Clara's stories of Graceland, of Elvis's charisma, Mary's quiet strength, had shaped Emily's love for storytelling. But there were moments, like shadows in those tales, where Clara's voice would falter. One memory stood out, a winter evening when Emily was 14, helping Clara mend a quilt by the fireplace. Clara had paused, her needle still, and said, "I owe Mary a debt, Emily. She carried a burden for us all." The words had hung heavy, but Emily, too young to press, had let them slip away. Now, they felt like a key to the mystery. The letter's plea for forgiveness gnawed at her. What had Mary done? And why had Clara kept it secret, only to leave a cryptic note pointing to AI decades later? Emily's visit to Graceland with Sarah had yielded the letter and a photo of Mary, but no clear answers. The jungle room, with its shag carpet and tiki statues, held something. Emily was sure of it, but the prickle of unease she'd felt there lingered, as if someone had been watching her. She pushed the thought aside, focusing on the next step. If Clara had been this close to Mary, maybe Laura knew something, too. The idea of calling her mother sent a shiver through Emily. Laura's absence was a wound that never healed, a silence louder than any of Clara's stories. Their last conversation, 6 months ago, had been a tense exchange of pleasantries, Laura's voice distant from her new life in Nashville. But if Laura held even a piece of this puzzle, Emily had to try. She grabbed her phone, her hands trembling as she scrolled to Laura's number. The clock read 9:47 p.m., late, but not too late. She hit call before she could change her mind. The line rang twice, then Laura's voice came through, tentative and guarded. "Emily. It's late. Everything okay?" Emily's throat tightened, but she forced the words out. "I found something, Mom. A note from Clara, about Mary Jenkins, the maid at Graceland. It mentions a truth and AI. And today, at Graceland, I found a letter from Mary to Clara, talking about keeping something safe. Do you know anything about this?" A long pause followed, heavy with unspoken history. "Mary Jenkins?" Laura's tone shifted, a mix of surprise and caution. "Clara mentioned her sometimes, but it was always vague." "Why are you digging into this, Emily?" "Because Clara left me a clue," Emily said, her voice sharper than intended. "She wrote about Mary's truth, and XAI found Mary's voice in an Elvis recording. I need to know what Clara was hiding. Did she ever tell you anything about Mary? About a secret?" Laura sighed, the sound heavy with years of distance. "Clara didn't share everything with me. She and Mary were close, closer than I realized when I was young. I remember. One night, I overheard them talking about something they had to protect. Clara sounded scared, Emily, which wasn't like her. But when I asked, she shut me out. Said it was for my own good." Emily's heart sank. "Why didn't you ever tell me this?" Another pause. "Because I left, Emily. I couldn't handle Clara's secrets, or Memphis, or any of it. I'm sorry." Laura's voice cracked, and Emily felt a pang of guilt, mixed with old anger. "If you're chasing this, be careful. Clara always said some truths are better left buried." The words stung, but they also lit a fire in Emily. "I'm not burying this, Mom. Clara wanted me to find it." She hung up, her hands shaking. Laura's warning echoed Tom's at Graceland, "Be careful, and the coincidence felt like a tightening noose. What was so dangerous about Mary's truth? Before she could process it, a sharp knock at the front door jolted her. The sound was loud, deliberate, cutting through the quiet of the bungalow. Emily froze, her pulse racing. It was nearly 10 o'clock, who would come by unannounced? Sarah was at her apartment across town, and no one else knew Emily was here. She grabbed a kitchen knife, her journalist's instincts screaming caution, and crept to the door. Peering through the peephole, she saw a man in a dark jacket, his face shadowed by a baseball cap. He knocked again, harder. "Who's there?" Emily called, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her gut. "Delivery," the man said, his voice gruff. "Got a package for Emily Harper." Emily's brow furrowed. She hadn't ordered anything. "Leave it on the porch," she said, gripping the knife tighter. "Can't do that," he replied. "Needs a signature." Something felt off, his tone, the late hour, the way he stood just out of the light. Emily's mind flashed to the prickle of unease at Graceland, the sense of being watched. Was this connected? She backed away, dialing Sarah. No answer. Another knock, more insistent. "Miss Harper, open the door." Emily's heart pounded. She grabbed her phone and the letter, slipping out the back door into the humid night. The backyard was dark, the cicadas deafening as she crouched behind Clara's old rosebushes. The man knocked again, then fell silent. Minutes later, she heard footsteps retreating, followed by the roar of a car engine fading down the street. She waited, her breath shallow, until she was sure he was gone. Back inside, she locked the door and checked the porch. Nothing, no package. Her hands shook as she sank into a chair, the letter from Mary still clutched in her fist. Whoever that was, they weren't delivering anything. They were looking for her, or for what she'd found. Emily thought of Clara's quilt, the one they'd mended together, its patches hiding imperfections. Clara had always said, "Some things stay hidden, till the time's right." Was this the time? Mary's secret, Clara's debt, Laura's warning, they were all threads in a story Emily was only beginning to unravel. She needed to return to Graceland, to find the blue suede heart, but now she wondered, who else was chasing it? The Memphis night pressed close, its air thick with secrets and the faint echo of Elvis's music. Emily wasn't alone in this, but for the first time, she felt the weight of eyes on her, watching from the shadows. She clutched the letter tighter, determined to honor Clara's trust, even if it meant facing dangers she couldn't yet name. Emily Harper woke to sunlight streaming through the bungalow's curtains, the golden rays doing little to ease the knot of unease in her chest. The mysterious knock at her door last night lingered like a bad dream, the gruff voice demanding a signature for a non-existent package echoing in her mind. She'd barely slept, her thoughts tangled with Mary Jenkins's letter, Clara's cryptic note, and Laura's guarded warning. The coffee pot gurgled in the kitchen, its bitter aroma grounding her as she pulled on jeans and a faded t-shirt, the note from Clara, Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song, still tucked in her pocket. Today, she'd returned to Graceland, to the jungle room, chasing the blue suede heart that XAI's grok had uncovered in Mary's voice. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, "Coffee and donuts. Meet me at Graceland in 30. Let's find that heart." Emily smiled, grateful for Sarah's unshakable enthusiasm. She grabbed her bag, the letter from Mary to Clara inside, and headed out, the Memphis morning heavy with humidity and the faint hum of traffic on Elvis Presley Boulevard. The city felt alive, its pulse tied to the music and secrets that had shaped it, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching, waiting for her next move. At Graceland, the mansion's white columns gleamed under the sun, tourists already gathering like pilgrims at a shrine. Sarah waited by the gates, 2 coffees in hand and a box of donuts balanced precariously on her arm. "Fuel for the mystery," she said, grinning as she handed Emily a cup. "Ready to crack this case, Nancy Drew?" Emily laughed, the sound easing her nerves. "Let's hope I'm better at this than I am at keeping my job." Mike's ultimatum, 1 week to deliver a story. Hung over her, but the thrill of the chase was stronger. The jungle room, with its shag carpet and tiki statues, had felt alive yesterday, as if it held Mary's secret in its walls. The blue suede heart was no metaphor, Emily was sure, it was tied to blue suede shoes, Elvis's iconic hit, and the framed record she'd noticed on the wall. Inside, the air was cool and hushed, the jungle room's garish decor a time capsule of the 1970s. Tourists shuffled through, snapping photos, but Emily's focus was on the gold record for blue suede shoes, mounted above a faux leather couch. Its frame was ornate, heavy, and slightly askew, as if someone had tampered with it. She exchanged a glance with Sarah, who nodded, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Cover me," Emily whispered, stepping closer to the frame. The security guard was distracted, chatting with a tourist, and the room's chatter masked her movements. Her fingers brushed the frame's edge, finding a subtle ridge, a seam, hidden in the gilding. Her heart raced as she pressed it, and with a soft click, the frame swung open like a tiny door. Behind it, tucked into a hollowed-out section of the wall, was a folded piece of paper, yellowed and fragile. Sarah gasped, leaning in. Is that?" Emily unfolded the paper, her hands trembling. The handwriting matched the letter from Mary, the king's trust was betrayed. "I hid the proof where the heart sings. For Clara, for his legacy." The note was unsigned, but the weight of its words hit Emily like a punch. Betrayal? Proof? Was Mary protecting Elvis's legacy, or exposing someone else's crime? Before she could process it, a shadow fell across the paper. Emily turned, her breath catching as a man loomed behind them. He was tall, his dark jacket out of place in the warm Memphis day, his face sharp and unreadable beneath a baseball cap. "You're Emily Harper," he said, his voice low, almost a growl. "You need to stop digging." Sarah stepped forward, her notebook clutched like a shield. "Who are you? And why do you care what she's doing?" The man's eyes narrowed, his gaze flicking to the note in Emily's hand. "Name's Victor. Let's just say some folks in Memphis don't like old secrets being stirred up. Mary Jenkins should stay buried. Hand over that paper, and walk away." Emily's pulse pounded, her mind flashing to last night's visitor. Was this him? She slipped the note into her pocket, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her gut. "I'm not handing over anything. This is about the truth, and I'm not stopping." Victor's jaw tightened, his hand twitching as if reaching for something in his jacket. "You're making a mistake, Miss Harper. Some truths cost more than you can pay." He stepped closer, his presence suffocating, but a shout from the security guard interrupted. "Hey, you! No loitering near the displays." The guard approached, and Victor backed off, his eyes locked on Emily's for a moment longer before he turned and melted into the crowd. Sarah grabbed Emily's arm, her voice urgent. Who the hell was that? And what's with the cryptic threats?" "I don't know," Emily said, her heart still racing. "But he's scared of what we're finding. That means we're close." She glanced at the blue suede shoes record, now closed, its secret safe for now. The note's words, betrayal, proof, legacy, swirled in her mind. Mary had hidden something, and someone powerful wanted it to stay hidden. They left the jungle room, the mansion's opulence now feeling like a trap. Outside, the Memphis sun was high, casting long shadows across the lawn. Emily's phone buzzed, Dr. Patel from XAI, confirming their meeting tomorrow to share the audio file. Sarah suggested grabbing lunch to strategize, but Emily's thoughts were on Victor. Who was he protecting? And why was Mary's truth worth threatening her for? As they drove away, Graceland's gates receded in the rearview mirror, but the weight of the note in Emily's pocket grew heavier. She thought of Clara, her grandmother's voice echoing from that long-ago night. Mary carried a burden for us all. Emily was carrying it now, and it felt like a ticking bomb. The blue suede heart was more than a clue, it was a warning, and Emily was determined to heed it, no matter the cost. Emily Harper sat in a corner booth at a Beale Street diner, the neon glow of a jukebox casting flickers of red and blue across the table. The air smelled of fried onions and coffee, the clatter of plates mingling with a soulful blues tune. Across from her, Sarah hunched over her laptop, her fingers flying as she dug into the digital rabbit hole of Memphis history. Between them lay the faded note Emily had found behind the blue suede shoes record in Graceland's jungle room. The king's trust was betrayed. I hid the proof where the heart sings. For Clara, for his legacy. The words were a weight, a warning, and a promise, and Emily's pulse hadn't slowed since Victor's threat in the mansion. Betrayal, Sarah muttered, her eyes glued to her screen. That's a big word. Who would Mary Jenkins call a betrayer? And what's this proof she hid? She took a sip of her soda, the ice clinking as she glanced at Emily. You okay, Em? You've barely touched your burger. Emily pushed her plate aside, her stomach too knotted for food. Victor's words, "Some truths cost more than you can pay," echoed alongside the memory of the late-night knock at Clara's bungalow. I'm fine, she lied, her fingers tracing the note's edges. Just, trying to make sense of this. Mary was protecting Elvis's legacy, but from what? And why is some guy in a creepy jacket trying to scare me off? Sarah's brow furrowed. That's what I'm working on. Victor's not just some random thug, I'm running his name through every database I can hack. I mean, legally access. She winked, but her voice was serious. Give me a few minutes. Emily nodded, pulling out her phone to call Dr. Priya Patel at XAI. The researcher had promised to share the enhanced audio file of Mary's voice today, and Emily needed every clue she could get. The line connected after one ring. Ms. Harper, Patel said, her voice crisp despite the late hour in Silicon Valley. We've made progress with Grok's analysis. The 1977 recording is clearer now. Mary Jenkins says, the truth is in the blue suede heart. It protects his legacy. There's more, but it's still faint, something about keeping it safe. We're sending you the file now. Emily's heart raced. Protects his legacy. From what? And where's the blue suede heart? She thought of the jungle room, the note behind the record. Was that the heart, or was there more to find? We're not sure, Patel admitted. But the deliberate nature of her words suggests intent. Mary wanted this found. Your grandmother's note mentioning AI, it's almost as if she anticipated technology uncovering this. We'll keep analyzing. Let us know what you find at Graceland. Emily hung up as her phone pinged with the audio file. She played it, holding the phone close. The sound was grainy, Elvis's voice a distant hum, but Mary's words cut through, the truth is in the blue suede heart. It protects his legacy. The clarity sent a shiver down Emily's spine. Mary had hidden something, and Clara had known. But what betrayal could be so big it needed protecting decades later? Sarah snapped her laptop shut, her eyes wide. Got something. Victor, full name Victor Hargrove, is tied to the Hargrove family. Old Memphis money, big in real estate and entertainment back in the 70s. His grandfather, Charles Hargrove, was part of Elvis's management circle, handling some of his finances. There were rumors Charles skimmed money from Elvis's tours, but nothing was ever proven. Emily's breath caught. A betrayal, she whispered, glancing at the note. If Mary knew Charles was stealing from Elvis, that's motive to silence her. And if Victor's protecting his family's name? Sarah nodded, her voice low. Explains why he's creeping around. If there's proof of his grandfather's dirty dealings, it could ruin the Hargrove legacy. You've got to be careful, Em. These people don't play nice. The diner's noise faded, the weight of Victor's threat settling heavier. Emily thought of the knock at her door, the shadowed figure at Graceland. Was Victor watching her now? She scanned the room, half expecting to see his sharp features in the crowd, but found only tourists and locals laughing over greasy fries. Still, the unease clung to her like Memphis's humidity. Her phone buzzed. Mike, her editor, with another text, "Where's my story, Harper?" Clock's ticking. Emily's stomach twisted. She'd promised a pitch, but this was bigger than a newspaper article. It was about Clara, Mary, and a truth that someone powerful wanted buried. She typed a quick reply, "Need a few more days." "It's big," and turned to Sarah. "We need to go back to Graceland." The note said, "Where the heart sings." "We found one clue behind the record, but there's more." Sarah grinned, undeterred by the danger. "Tomorrow, then. I'll bring my tech gear, maybe I can scan the jungle room for hidden compartments. Grok's audio is a start, but Mary's proof is physical, right? A document, maybe, or a recording." Emily nodded, but her thoughts drifted to Laura. Her mother's warning, "Some truths are better left buried," echoed Clara's reticence about Mary. What had Clara and Mary protected, and why had it driven Laura away? Emily felt the threads of her family's past tightening around her, each clue pulling her deeper into a story she wasn't sure she could handle. The diner's jukebox switched to Hound Dog, and Emily's lips twitched in a bittersweet smile. Clara had loved that song, dancing in the kitchen with a spatula as a microphone. Elvis trusted Mary, Clara had said once, her eyes distant. She saw the man behind the myth. Now, Emily was seeing it too, the man, the maid, the betrayal that had shaped them all. She clutched the note, its words a lifeline. Mary had hidden proof, and Emily would find it, even if it meant facing Victor's threats head-on. As they left the diner, Beale Street pulsed with life. Neon signs blazing, street performers strumming guitars, the Mississippi River scent lingering in the air. Emily felt Memphis's history wrapping around her, its music and secrets urging her forward. But Victor's shadow loomed, a reminder that some truths came with a cost. She glanced at Sarah, her anchor in this storm, and steeled herself. Clara had left her this path, and she wouldn't turn back now. Hey, reader, what would you do if the truth you chased put you in danger? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one secret you've uncovered that changed everything? Emily Harper sat on the sagging couch in Clara's bungalow, the dim glow of a lamp casting shadows across the living room. The note from Mary Jenkins, found behind the blue suede shoes record, lay on the coffee table beside the earlier letter to Clara. The king's trust was betrayed. I hid the proof where the heart sings. For Clara, for his legacy. The words felt like a pulse, alive and urgent, tying Emily to a past she was only beginning to understand. Victor Hargrove's threat in Graceland's jungle room, "Some truths cost more than you can pay," loomed like a storm cloud, and the mysterious knock at her door 2 nights ago still sent shivers down her spine. She needed answers, and her mother, Laura, might hold them. The clock ticked past 10 p.m., the Memphis night thick with the hum of crickets and the distant wail of a train along the Mississippi. Emily clutched her phone, Laura's number staring back at her. Their last call had been tense, Laura's guarded words hinting at a shared secret between Clara and Mary. Emily's fingers hesitated, the weight of years of estrangement pressing against her chest. Laura had left when Emily was 8, fleeing Memphis for Nashville, leaving Clara to raise her daughter alone. The pain of that abandonment was a scar Emily carried, but the mystery of Mary's truth demanded she push past it. She hit call. Emily. Laura's voice was softer this time, less guarded but still laced with caution. Twice in 1 week. This about Mary Jenkins again? Yeah, Mom, Emily said, her voice steadier than she felt. I found another note at Graceland, in Mary's handwriting. It talks about a betrayal and protecting Elvis's legacy. You said Clara was scared about something she and Mary had to protect. What was it? I need to know. A long silence stretched across the line, broken only by the faint rustle of Laura moving. Clara never told me everything, Laura began, her voice low, almost a whisper. But I know Mary was more than a maid to Elvis. She was a caretaker, not just of Graceland but of his heart. He trusted her with things he didn't tell anyone else. Clara said Mary handled secret donations, money Elvis gave to struggling families in Memphis, no questions asked. Thousands of dollars, sometimes more, funneled through Mary to keep it anonymous. Emily's breath caught. Donations? Like charity? She pictured Elvis, the king of rock and roll, quietly helping families while the world saw only his sequin jumpsuits and sold-out shows. Exactly, Laura said. Clara helped sometimes, delivering envelopes to churches or community centers. But it wasn't just about the money. Clara told me once, late at night, that Mary knew something dangerous, something that could hurt Elvis's name if it got out. She wouldn't say what. Just that Mary and Clara swore to keep it safe, even from me. Emily's mind raced, the pieces clicking together. The betrayal in Mary's note, could it be someone stealing from those donations? Or something worse? She thought of Victor Hargrove, his family's ties to Elvis's management, the rumors of financial misconduct. Laura's voice tightened. I don't know, Emily. But Clara was scared, and that wasn't like her. She said some people would do anything to keep their secrets buried. After Mary died, Clara changed, got quieter, more protective. It's part of why I left. I couldn't handle the weight of her silence. The word stung, a fresh cut over an old wound. Emily gripped the phone, her voice sharp. You left because you couldn't handle Clara? Or because you didn't want to deal with me? Emily, that's not, Laura's voice broke, and for a moment, Emily heard the raw edge of regret. I was young, angry, lost. I'm sorry. But if you're chasing this, you need to be careful. If Mary's secret was worth hiding, it's worth killing for. The warning sent a chill through Emily, echoing Victor's threat and the knock at her door. Before she could respond, a sharp snap outside, like a twig breaking underfoot, cut through the quiet. Her heart lurched. She stood, moving to the window, and peered into the dark backyard. The rosebushes Clara had loved swayed in the breeze, their shadows dancing, but nothing else moved. Or did it? A flicker, just beyond the porch light's reach, made her breath catch. Mom, I have to go, Emily said, her voice low. Someone's outside. Emily, wait, Laura's plea was cut off as Emily ended the call, her hand trembling. She grabbed the kitchen knife she'd kept close since the last visitor, her journalist's instinct screaming danger. The bungalow was silent except for the hum of the fridge, but the air felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. She crept to the back door, peering through the glass. Nothing but darkness and the faint glint of dew on the grass. Had she imagined the sound? Her phone buzzed, Sarah, texting, you okay? Got a weird vibe tonight. Emily typed back, heard something outside. Stay on the line. She slipped the phone into her pocket, the knife cold in her hand, and stepped onto the porch. The night air was thick, the scent of roses mingling with the river's distant musk. She scanned the yard, her pulse racing, but found no one. Still, the feeling of being watched clung to her, as tangible as the note in her pocket. Back inside, she locked the door, her breath uneven. Laura's words replayed, some people would do anything to keep their secrets buried. Was Victor outside, or someone else tied to the Hargrove family? The idea of Elvis's secret donations, funneled through Mary, was a beautiful truth, but the betrayal she'd hinted at was darker, a shadow cast over Graceland's legacy. Emily sank onto the couch, the letter and note beside her, their words a lifeline to Clara and Mary. She thought of a memory, Clara, years ago, stitching a quilt in the living room, her eyes distant. Mary gave more than she got, Clara had said, her voice heavy with something like guilt. Some folks take, but she gave everything. Emily hadn't understood then, but now she saw it, Mary's loyalty to Elvis, her role in his hidden kindness, had come at a cost. And Clara had carried that burden, too, passing it to Emily through a note and a nudge toward AI. Her phone pinged again, Dr. Patel, confirming tomorrow's meeting to review more of Grok's audio analysis. Emily clutched the note, its words a call to action. She wasn't just chasing a story for Mike or her career, this was about honoring Clara, giving voice to Mary, and uncovering a truth that someone, Victor, or someone worse, wanted buried. The Memphis night pressed close, its secrets whispering in the shadows, but Emily was ready to listen, no matter what came next. Emily Harper sat in a cramped Memphis coffee shop, the aroma of espresso cutting through the morning's humidity. The bustle of Beale Street filtered through the windows, a mix of tourists' laughter and a street performer's saxophone. Across from her, Dr. Priya Patel sipped a latte, her tablet open to a waveform of the 1977 Graceland recording analyzed by XAI's Grok. The audio file, sent last night, had kept Emily awake, its faint words looping in her mind, the truth is in the blue suede heart. It protects his legacy. Now, Patel had promised more, a clearer fragment of Mary Jenkins's voice, hidden in the static of Elvis's Jungle Room sessions. Grok's enhancement is remarkable, Patel said, her voice low to avoid the ears of nearby patrons. We've isolated another segment of Mary's message. Listen. She slid earbuds across the table, and Emily plugged them in, her heart pounding. The audio crackled, Elvis's voice a distant hum, then Mary's words emerged, soft but deliberate. The truth is safe, but the cost was high. The phrase sent a shiver through Emily, echoing the note she'd found behind the blue suede shoes record, the king's trust was betrayed. What cost had Mary paid, and who had betrayed Elvis? Emily removed the earbuds, her hands trembling. The cost was high, she repeated. What does that mean? Did Mary sacrifice something to protect Elvis's legacy? Patel's brow furrowed. Possibly. The deliberate nature of her words suggests she was leaving a message for someone, maybe your grandmother, Clara, given the note you found. We're still analyzing, but this feels like more than a casual remark. It's a confession. Emily nodded, her thoughts racing. Clara's note, Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song, had led her to the Jungle Room, to the hidden note about betrayal. Now, Mary's voice hinted at a sacrifice, a price paid to keep Elvis's legacy intact. Was it tied to the secret donations Laura had mentioned, or something darker? Victor Hargrove's threat in Graceland, drop this, or you'll regret it, loomed larger, his connection to a family tied to Elvis's management raising red flags. She thanked Patel and headed to meet Sarah at Graceland, the coffee shop's warmth giving way to the sticky Memphis air. Her phone buzzed, Laura, calling back after last night's tense conversation. Emily braced herself, the memory of the snapped twig outside her bungalow still fresh. Mom, what's wrong? She answered, her voice tight. Emily, I couldn't stop thinking about our call, Laura said, her tone softer, almost fragile. There's something I didn't tell you. Clara wasn't just scared about Mary's secret, she was scared of someone close to Elvis, someone still alive when I left Memphis. She never named them, but she said they'd do anything to keep their reputation clean. I think it's why she kept me in the dark. Emily's stomach twisted. Someone still alive. Like who? She thought of Victor, his grandfather Charles Hargrove's rumored financial misconduct. Was Charles still alive, or was Victor carrying his family's secrets? I don't know, Laura admitted. Clara wouldn't say. But she changed after Mary died, like she was carrying a weight she couldn't share. Be careful, Emily. Please. The call ended, and Emily's mind churned as she reached Graceland. Sarah was waiting by the gates, her backpack stuffed with tech gear, a handheld scanner she'd borrowed from her IT job. Ready to hunt for more clues? Sarah asked, her eyes bright despite the tension. I've got a gadget that can detect hidden compartments. If Mary hid proof in the Jungle Room, we'll find it. Inside, the mansion's air was cool, the jungle room's shag carpet and tiki statues as surreal as ever. Tourists milled about, but Emily's focus was on the walls, the furniture, anywhere Mary might have hidden her proof. Sarah swept her scanner over the wood-paneled walls, its faint beeps blending with the hum of voices. Near the blue suede shoes record, where Emily had found the note, the scanner chirped louder, indicating a hollow space. We've got something," Sarah whispered, her fingers probing the panel. Before they could investigate further, a shadow loomed. Emily turned, her heart lurching as Victor Hargrove stepped into the room, his dark jacket stark against the vibrant decor. His eyes locked on hers, cold and unyielding. "Miss Harper," he said, his voice low and menacing. "I told you to stop digging. You're making enemies you can't afford." Sarah stepped forward, her scanner clutched like a weapon. "Back off, buddy. We're not scared of you." Victor's lips curled in a humorless smile. "You should be. Drop this, or you'll regret it. Both of you." He glanced at the scanner, then the record, as if he knew exactly what they were after. Some things are better left buried. Emily's fear battled her resolve, Clara's note burning in her pocket. "I'm not stopping," she said, her voice steady. "Mary's truth matters, and I'm going to find it." Victor's jaw tightened, his hand twitching toward his jacket. For a moment, Emily thought he might lunge, but a security guard's shout broke the tension. "Hey, keep moving." Victor shot Emily a final glare before slipping into the crowd, his presence lingering like a storm cloud. Sarah exhaled, her hands shaking. "That guy's bad news, Em. We need to figure out what he's protecting, and fast." Emily nodded, her mind on Laura's warning, someone close to Elvis, still alive. Was Victor acting alone, or was he a pawn for someone bigger? They returned to the panel, but the scanner's battery died, delaying their search. As they left Graceland, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lawn. Emily's phone buzzed, Mike, demanding an update. She ignored it, her focus on the road ahead. Driving home, she noticed a black sedan in her rearview mirror, its headlights steady and too close. Her pulse spiked. She took a detour, weaving through Memphis's backstreets, but the car followed, its presence a silent threat. When she finally lost it near the river, her hands were trembling. Victor, or someone else, was watching, and the stakes were higher than she'd imagined. Back at the bungalow, Emily locked the doors, her heart still racing. She pulled out the notes, their words a lifeline to Clara and Mary. The blue suede heart, the betrayal, the high cost, each clue pointed to a truth that someone powerful wanted buried. She thought of Clara's quilt, its patches hiding flaws, and her grandmother's voice, "Some things stay hidden, till the time's right." The time was now, and Emily wouldn't back down, even with headlights in her rearview mirror. Emily Harper's heart pounded as she stood in Graceland's jungle room, the shag carpet muffling her footsteps. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood and nostalgia, the room's tiki statues and green walls glowing faintly under the morning light. Sarah knelt beside her, her text scanner humming as it traced the wood-paneled wall near the blue suede shoes record where they'd found Mary Jenkins's note. Victor Hargrove's threat yesterday, "Drop this, or you'll regret it," echoed in Emily's mind, as did the black sedan that had trailed her home. But the words from Mary's note, "The king's trust was betrayed. I hid the proof where the heart sings," drove her forward. She was close, and she wouldn't back down. Sarah's scanner chirped louder, its screen flashing. It's here," she whispered, pointing to a panel just below the record's frame. "There's a hollow space, bigger than the last one. Could be a vault." Emily's pulse quickened. She glanced at the tourists milling nearby, their chatter a soft hum, and nodded at Sarah. They'd called Tom Bradley, Graceland's curator, for help, though his hesitation on the phone had been palpable. "This better be worth it," he'd said, promising to meet them. Now, as Tom approached, his gray hair catching the light, his eyes flickered with unease. You sure about this, Miss Harper? Tom asked, his voice low. Graceland's got secrets, but not all of them are safe to dig up. I'm sure, Emily said, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. Mary Jenkins hid something here, and my grandmother wanted me to find it. We're not leaving until we do. Tom sighed, pulling a small toolkit from his jacket. All right. But if this damages anything, it's on you. He pried at the panel, its wood creaking as it gave way, revealing a rusted metal vault, no bigger than a shoebox, embedded in the wall. A lock, tarnished but intact, gleamed faintly. Sarah let out a low whistle. Jackpot. Think you can open it, Tom? Tom hesitated, his fingers brushing the lock. This ain't standard Graceland inventory. Must have been hidden before the place became a museum. He worked a lockpick with practiced ease, and after a tense minute, the vault clicked open. Emily's breath caught as she reached inside, pulling out a bundle wrapped in faded cloth. She unfolded it carefully, revealing a stack of yellowed ledgers and a single letter, its handwriting matching Mary's. The ledgers listed dates, amounts, and names, hundreds of thousands of dollars donated to Memphis families, churches, and shelters, all signed with Mary's initials. A note in the margin read, "E-Peace gifts, kept secret for their sake." Emily's heart swelled. Elvis's generosity, channeled through Mary, was a legacy of quiet kindness. The letter was heavier, its words sharp. Clara, I hid the proof here to protect his name. Charles Hargrove took what wasn't his, betrayed the king's trust. If they find this, they'll come for us. Keep it safe. Emily's blood ran cold. Charles Hargrove, Victor's grandfather, had stolen from Elvis's donations, and Mary had documented it. This was the betrayal, the truth Mary had died to protect. Before Emily could speak, a shadow loomed. Victor Hargrove stood in the doorway, his dark jacket stark against the jungle room's vibrant decor. His eyes locked on the bundle in Emily's hands, his face a mask of cold fury. You just don't listen, do you? He said, stepping closer. Hand over those documents, Miss Harper. Now. Sarah stood, her scanner clutched like a shield. Back off, creep. We're not giving you anything. Victor's lips curled in a sneer. You're playing with fire. My family's name is clean, and I'll keep it that way. Those papers are lies, give them to me, or this gets ugly. Emily's fear battled her resolve. She slipped her phone from her pocket, discreetly hitting record, her journalist's instincts kicking in. Ugly how? She asked, her voice steady. Like sending someone to my house at night? Following me in a black sedan? What did your grandfather do, Victor? Steal from Elvis's charity to line his pockets? Victor's jaw tightened, his hand twitching toward his jacket. You're out of your depth. Those ledgers are fake, planted to smear us. Hand them over, or you'll wish you'd never stepped foot in Graceland. Tom stepped forward, his voice firm. That's enough, Hargrove. You're on museum property. Leave, or I call security. Victor's gaze darted between them, calculating. Emily held the documents tighter, her phone still recording. This is about the truth, she said. Mary Jenkins died to protect Elvis's legacy. I'm not letting you bury it. For a moment, Victor looked ready to lunge, but the growing crowd of tourists and a security guard's approach made him falter. He leaned in, his voice a low growl. This isn't over. He turned, disappearing into the throng, his threat lingering like smoke. Sarah exhaled, her hands shaking. That was intense. You okay? Emily nodded, though her heart was racing. He's scared. That means these documents are real. She clutched the ledgers, their weight a testament to Mary's sacrifice and Elvis's kindness. But Victor's desperation, and Laura's warning about someone still alive, suggested the betrayal ran deeper than she'd thought. They thanked Tom, who looked shaken but promised to keep the vault's discovery quiet. Outside, the Memphis sun beat down, the mansion's lawn buzzing with tourists. Emily's phone buzzed, Dr. Patel, confirming more audio analysis tomorrow. As they drove away, Emily glanced in her rearview mirror, half expecting the black sedan. Nothing, but the unease remained. Back at the bungalow, she spread the ledgers on the kitchen table, their pages a map of Elvis's hidden generosity. Mary had been his confidant, his secret keeper, and Charles Hargrove had betrayed that trust. Clara had known, carrying the burden until her death. Emily thought of her grandmother's voice, soft and steady, "Some things stay hidden, till the time's right." The time was now, but Victor's threat, and the shadow of someone still alive, meant Emily was walking a dangerous path. Emily Harper stood in the dim light of Clara's bungalow, the ledgers from Graceland's hidden vault spread across the kitchen table like a confession laid bare. The pages detailed Elvis Presley's secret donations, hundreds of thousands of dollars given to Memphis families, churches, and shelters, all funneled through Mary Jenkins to keep his kindness anonymous. Beside them lay Mary's letter, its words a haunting echo: Charles Hargrove took what wasn't his, betrayed the king's trust. The truth was clear: Victor Hargrove's grandfather had stolen from Elvis's charity, and Mary had died protecting the proof. Emily's hands trembled as she clutched her phone, the recording of Victor's threat from the jungle room a ticking bomb in her pocket. The Memphis night was quiet, the air heavy with the scent of rain-soaked roses from Clara's garden. Emily's heart raced, not just from the documents but from the weight of what they meant. Mary's sacrifice, hiding the truth to shield Elvis's legacy, mirrored Emily's own struggle to honor Clara, to find purpose in a life unraveling under grief and doubt. But Victor's threats, the black sedan trailing her, and Laura's warning about someone still alive made the stakes feel deadly. She needed to act, and fast. Her phone buzzed, Dr. Priya Patel from XAI, calling with the final audio analysis. Emily answered, her voice tight. "Dr. Patel, what did Grok find?" Patel's tone was urgent. "We've isolated Mary's voice in 3 separate recordings from 1977, all in the jungle room. Each one's a plea, the truth is in the blue suede heart. It protects his legacy. The cost was high. The last recording adds, for Clara, for the king. It's unmistakable, Mary was leaving a message, knowing it might cost her life. Your grandmother's note about AI, it's like she foresaw this moment." Emily's breath hitched. Mary had known the danger, yet she'd hidden the ledgers, entrusting Clara with their secret. The blue suede heart wasn't just the record. It was Elvis's generosity, his legacy of love for Memphis, and Mary had paid the ultimate price to protect it. Tears stung Emily's eyes as she thought of Clara, carrying that burden, leaving the note for Emily to find decades later. "I'm meeting Victor Hargrove today," Emily said, her resolve hardening. "He threatened me to stop digging. I've got his words recorded. It's time to end this." Patel hesitated. "Be careful, Miss Harper. If Charles Hargrove's actions are exposed, it could ruin powerful people. We'll back you with the audio evidence, but stay safe." Emily hung up, her mind racing. She'd arranged to meet Victor at Graceland, in the open, where security and tourists would keep things civil. Sarah was on her way, her tech gear ready to record whatever happened. But as Emily drove to the mansion, the Mississippi River glinting in the distance, she felt the weight of Clara's voice: "Some things stay hidden, till the time's right." The time was now, and Emily was ready to face the storm. At Graceland, the jungle room was quieter today, the tourists sparse in the late afternoon. Victor stood near the blue suede shoes record, his dark jacket stark against the room's vibrant decor. His eyes narrowed as Emily approached, Sarah trailing behind with her phone discreetly recording. "You don't give up, do you?" Victor said, his voice low and edged with menace. "I told you to drop this. Those ledgers are lies, and you're stirring up trouble you can't handle." Emily held up her phone, the recording of his earlier threat queued up. "I've got you on tape, Victor. Threatening me, trying to bury the truth about your grandfather. Charles Hargrove stole from Elvis's donations, money meant for struggling families. Mary Jenkins hid the proof, and you're scared it'll ruin your family's name. Victor's face paled, his fists clenching. You don't know what you're talking about. Those documents are fake, planted to smear us. Hand them over, or what? Emily cut in, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her gut. You'll send another creep to my house. Follow me in a black sedan. Mary died to protect Elvis's legacy, and Clara carried that secret for years. I'm not letting you silence them. Sarah stepped closer, her phone still recording. Smile, Victor. You're on candid camera. Try anything, and this goes viral. Victor's gaze darted between them, his jaw tight. For a moment, Emily thought he might lunge, but the hum of tourists and a security guard's presence held him back. You're making a mistake, he hissed. This isn't just about my family. There are others who'll stop you. Emily's heart pounded, but she held her ground. Then let them try. The truth's coming out, Victor. Mary's voice, the ledgers, Clara's note, it's all real. Elvis was a good man, and Mary died to prove it. You can't bury that. Victor's eyes burned with fury, but he backed off, disappearing into the crowd. Emily exhaled, her legs shaky. Sarah grabbed her arm, her voice low. That was badass, but we need to get these documents somewhere safe. He's not done. Emily nodded, the ledgers heavy in her bag. The confrontation had been a release, a surge of purpose that echoed Mary's sacrifice. She saw it now, Mary's loyalty to Elvis, her willingness to risk everything, mirrored Emily's own drive to honor Clara. The pain of Laura's absence, the grief of losing Clara, had fueled her doubt, but this truth, about Elvis, about Mary, about love and sacrifice, was a light in the darkness. As they left Graceland, the Memphis sun dipped low, casting golden rays across the mansion's lawn. Emily's phone buzzed, Mike, her editor, demanding a draft. She ignored it, her focus on the ledgers, the audio, and the question burning in her chest, could she publish this story without destroying lives? Charles Hargrove was dead, but Victor's desperation, and Laura's warning about someone still alive, suggested others were involved. The truth was in her hands, but so was danger, and Emily had to decide how far to push. She thought of Clara, sewing by the fireplace, her voice soft. Mary gave everything for what she believed in. Emily was ready to do the same, but the cost was becoming clearer. The shadows of Graceland, of Memphis, of her own past, were closing in, and she wasn't sure she could outrun them. Hey, reader, what would you do if the truth you held could change lives forever? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one sacrifice you've made for someone you love? Emily Harper sat at Clara's kitchen table, the glow of her laptop casting shadows across the faded floral wallpaper. The ledgers from Graceland's hidden vault lay locked in a safe under the couch, their pages a testament to Elvis Presley's secret generosity. Hundreds of thousands of dollars donated to Memphis families through Mary Jenkins, betrayed by Charles Hargrove's theft. Mary's notes and XAI's grok audio, with her voice pleading to protect Elvis's legacy, were backed up on a secure drive. Emily's fingers hovered over the keyboard, her article for the Memphis Daily News nearly complete. The headline read, Elvis's Hidden Heart, the Maid Who Saved His Legacy. It was the story of her career, but the weight of it, Mary's sacrifice, Clara's silence, Victor Hargrove's threats, pressed against her like the humid Memphis night. She hit send, emailing the draft to Mike, her editor, with a note, this is it. Publish it. The confrontation with Victor in the jungle room, her phone recording his threats, had been a turning point. Mary's truth, her loyalty to Elvis, her sacrifice to hide Charles Hargrove's betrayal, was out of the shadows. But Laura's warning about someone still alive and Victor's parting words, this isn't just about my family, gnawed at Emily. The story wasn't over, and the danger wasn't gone. Her phone buzzed, jarring her from her thoughts. Laura's name flashed on the screen, and Emily's stomach tightened. Their recent calls had cracked open old wounds, but Laura's revelations about Clara and Mary's secret had shifted something. Emily answered, her voice cautious. "Mom. You okay?" "Emily," Laura said, her tone soft, almost broken. "I saw your email to Mike. You're really doing this, telling Mary's story." I need to tell you something." Emily leaned back, the creak of the chair echoing in the quiet bungalow. "What is it?" Laura's breath hitched, and when she spoke, her words carried years of guilt. "I left Memphis because of Clara's secrets. She and Mary were protecting Elvis's donations, but after Mary died, Clara got scared, paranoid, even. She wouldn't tell me everything, said it was to keep me safe. I was angry, felt shut out. I ran to Nashville, left you behind, and I've hated myself for it ever since. I'm so sorry, Emily." The confession hit like a wave, washing over the scar of Laura's absence. Emily's eyes stung, but her voice was steady. "Why didn't you come back? Clara raised me, but I needed you, too." "I know," Laura whispered. "I thought staying away would protect you from whatever Clara was hiding. But you're stronger than I was. You're giving Mary her voice, and Clara would be so proud." Emily swallowed a lump in her throat, picturing Clara's smile, her hands stitching a quilt as she hummed "Love Me Tender." "I'm doing this for her," she said. "And for Mary. But I need to know, Mom, did Clara ever mention who she was scared of? Someone still alive?" Laura hesitated. "She didn't name them, but she said they were close to Elvis, someone with power. After Mary's death, Clara stopped trusting people. I think that's why she left you the note, she wanted you to finish what she couldn't." The words settled heavily, tying Clara's fear to Victor's threats and the ledger's proof. Emily was about to respond when her phone pinged, a notification from the Daily News website. Her article was live, already trending on social media. Comments flooded in, "Mary Jenkins was a hero. Elvis's heart was bigger than we knew." The story was going viral, restoring Mary's legacy and cementing Emily's career. Mike texted, "Nice work, Harper. You're back in the game." But the victory was bittersweet. As Emily scrolled through the comments, her phone buzzed again, an unknown number, a voicemail. She played it, her heart sinking at Victor's voice, low and menacing. "You think publishing that story ends this? You've only scratched the surface. There are people bigger than me who'll make sure you stop." The line went dead, and Emily's hands trembled. Victor wasn't acting alone. Who else was protecting Charles Hargrove's secret, and what else were they hiding? She called Sarah, her voice urgent. Victor left a voicemail. "He says there's more to this, people bigger than him. We need to protect the ledgers and audio." Sarah arrived within the hour, her backpack stuffed with tech gear. "I've uploaded everything to a secure cloud," she said, setting up her laptop. "But Victor's not bluffing. If his family's tied to a bigger conspiracy, we're in deep. We should talk to Tom at Graceland, see if he knows more about Charles Hargrove's connections." Emily nodded, her mind racing. The article's success was a beacon, shining light on Mary's sacrifice and Elvis's kindness, but it had also stirred a hornet's nest. She thought of Clara, her grandmother's voice soft by the fireplace. Mary gave everything for what she believed in. Emily was carrying that torch now, but Victor's threat, and the shadow of someone still alive, made it feel like a flame that could burn her. The Memphis night pressed close, the river's scent drifting through the open window. Emily locked the safe, the ledger's safe for now, but her heart was heavy. Reconciling with Laura had cracked open a door to healing, but the truth about Mary and Elvis came with a cost. She wasn't just fighting for a story, she was fighting for her family, her city, and a legacy that deserved to shine. But as the night deepened, the faint hum of a car engine outside sent a chill through her. Was Victor watching, or was it someone else? Hey, reader. What would you do if the truth you told sparked a dangerous game? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one moment that made you face your past? The sun hung high over Graceland, its rays glinting off the mansion's white columns as Emily Harper stood before a crowd gathered on the lawn. Tourists, locals, and reporters pressed close, their murmurs blending with the soft strum of a guitarist playing Love Me Tender in the background. A bronze plaque gleamed on a pedestal, inscribed with words Emily had helped craft, in memory of Mary Jenkins, whose loyalty preserved Elvis Presley's legacy of kindness. Emily's article in the Memphis Daily News had gone viral, its revelation of Elvis's secret donations and Mary's sacrifice uniting Memphis in celebration of a forgotten hero. But as Emily prepared to speak, Victor Hargrove's chilling voicemail, "There are people bigger than me," and a cryptic note slipped under her door last night weighed heavy on her heart. She adjusted the microphone, her hands trembling slightly. The ledgers, Mary's notes, and XAI's grok audio were safe, their truth now public, but the shadow of a broader conspiracy loomed. Clara's note, "Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song," had led her here, to this moment, but the journey wasn't over. Emily cleared her throat, her voice carrying over the crowd. Mary Jenkins was more than a maid, she began, her eyes scanning faces filled with awe and pride. She was Elvis's confidant, his partner in a legacy of generosity that touched countless lives in Memphis. She hid the truth to protect his name, and my grandmother, Clara, carried that secret for decades. Today, we honor them both. The crowd applauded, and Emily's gaze fell on Laura, standing at the edge, her eyes glistening. Their reconciliation, raw and tentative, had been a quiet victory amid the storm. Laura's confession about fleeing Clara's secrets had cracked open a path to healing, and her presence now felt like a bridge to a past Emily was ready to embrace. She continued, her voice breaking as she dedicated the plaque to Clara. "This is for you, Grandma. You showed me that truth is worth fighting for." As the ceremony ended, Emily stepped aside, shaking hands with locals who thanked her for giving Mary her due. A reporter from a national outlet pressed for an interview, but Emily's mind was elsewhere. The cryptic note she'd found under her door, unsigned, scrawled in black ink, read, "The heart sings, but the shadow listens. Stop now." It was a warning, tied to Victor's threat and Laura's hint about someone still alive, someone close to Elvis with power. Who were they, and what more were they hiding? Sarah joined her, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "You killed it, Em," she said, her grin softening the tension. "Mary's a legend now, and you made it happen. But we need to talk, my tech dive last night turned up something big." Emily's pulse quickened. "What did you find?" Sarah glanced around, lowering her voice. "I cross-referenced the ledgers with old Memphis records. Charles Hargrove wasn't working alone. An associate, Richard Tate, was Elvis's financial advisor in the 70s. He's still alive, living in a gated estate outside Memphis. There are gaps in the donation records, money that never reached the families, signed off by Tate. If he was in on Hargrove's scheme, he might be the someone still alive Laura mentioned." Emily's stomach twisted. Richard Tate, a name tied to Elvis's inner circle, still wielding influence. Was he the shadow behind Victor's threats? "We need to find him," she said, her resolve hardening. "If Tate's hiding something, it's the last piece of Mary's truth." Before Sarah could reply, Tom Bradley approached, his curator's badge glinting. "Fine speech, Miss Harper," he said, his eyes cautious. "You've done Mary proud. But I heard about your run-in with Victor Hargrove. Be careful, folks like him don't let go easy." Emily nodded, the cryptic note's warning echoing, "The shadow listens." "Thanks, Tom. I'm not stopping now." She turned to the crowd, her heart swelling as a group of locals laid flowers by the plaque, their voices soft with gratitude. Inspired by Elvis's generosity and Mary's sacrifice, Emily had launched a scholarship fund in Mary's name, funded by donations pouring in since the article. It was a beacon of hope, a way to keep the legacy alive, but the threat of Tate and Victor cast a long shadow. As the crowd dispersed, Emily's phone buzzed, a text from Mike, "Stories a hit. You're back, Harper. What's next?" She smiled, the weight of her saved career a quiet triumph. But Sarah's lead on Richard Tate was the real next step, a path into the heart of the conspiracy. She thought of Clara, her grandmother's voice by the fireplace. Mary gave everything for what she believed in. Emily was ready to do the same, but the note under her door and Victor's voicemail were reminders that the fight wasn't over. Driving home, the Memphis skyline glowed against the dusk, Beale Street's neon a distant pulse. Emily glanced in her rearview mirror, half expecting the black sedan, but the road was clear. Still, the unease lingered, a whisper of danger in the city's humid air. She parked at the bungalow, locking the door behind her, the safe with the ledgers a silent sentinel. The scholarship fund was a start, but Mary's full truth, the shadow behind Charles Hargrove, remained just out of reach. Hey, reader, what would you do if a legacy you loved came with a hidden threat? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one cause you'd fight for, no matter the cost? Emily Harper gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white as she navigated the winding roads outside Memphis toward Richard Tate's estate. The sprawling property loomed ahead, its iron gates and manicured lawns a fortress of wealth and secrets. The ledgers from Graceland's hidden vault, Mary Jenkins's notes, and XAI's Grok audio were locked in a safe at Clara's bungalow, but copies burned in Emily's bag, proof of Elvis Presley's secret generosity and Charles Hargrove's betrayal, with hints of Tate's involvement. Sarah sat beside her, her laptop open, scrolling through emails she'd borrowed from a hacked server. The digital trail linked Tate to Victor Hargrove, suggesting a cover-up that stretched beyond one man's greed. "These emails are gold, Sarah said, her voice low with excitement. "Tate and Victor were in contact last week, right after your article went viral. Tate's worried about bold business coming to light. If he was skimming Elvis's donations with Charles Hargrove, he's got a lot to lose." Emily nodded, her jaw tight. The cryptic note slipped under her door, "The heart sings, but the shadow listens. Stop now," and Victor's voicemail about "people bigger than me" pointed to Tate as the shadow Laura had warned about, someone still alive and powerful. Clara's note, "Mary's truth lies where the king sang his last song," had led her here, to the edge of a truth that could either free her or destroy everything. The Memphis countryside blurred past, its green fields a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her heart. At the estate, a security guard waved them through after Emily flashed her press badge and mentioned Graceland's curator, Tom Bradley, as a reference. Tate's mansion was a monument to excess, marble columns, a fountain bubbling in the driveway, but its grandeur felt hollow, like a mask hiding rot. Tate met them in a wood-paneled study, his silver hair and tailored suit exuding old-money confidence. His eyes, though, were sharp, wary, sizing Emily up as she sat across from him. "Miss Harper," Tate said, his voice smooth but edged. "Your articles caused quite a stir. What brings you here?" Emily pulled the copied ledgers and Mary's notes from her bag, laying them on the desk. "These," she said, her voice steady. "They prove Elvis's donations to Memphis families, funneled through Mary Jenkins. They also show Charles Hargrove stole from those funds, and you signed off on the discrepancies. You were part of it, weren't you?" Tate's smile didn't reach his eyes. "That's a bold accusation. Those documents are old, easily fabricated. You've got no proof tying me to anything." Sarah slid her laptop forward, the emails open. "These say otherwise. You and Victor Hargrove were scrambling to cover up old business. You knew about the theft, and you let Mary take the fall. She died protecting Elvis's legacy, did you know that?" Tate's composure cracked, his hands clenching. "Mary Jenkins was a nobody," he snapped, then caught himself, leaning back. "You're digging into things you don't understand. Charles was careless, yes, but it was business. Elvis had more money than he needed. No one got hurt. No one. Emily's voice rose, her anger flaring. Mary died, heart failure, they said, but stress, fear, silence. She hid the truth to protect Elvis, and you profited from her sacrifice. I've got the ledgers, her notes, and Grok's audio of her voice. It's over, Tate. For a moment, Tate's face was unreadable, then he sighed, the fight draining from him. Fine. I signed off on Charles's adjustments. It was easier than fighting him. But you publish this, and you'll burn bridges you can't rebuild. There are others who won't take kindly to it. Emily's heart pounded, but she held his gaze. I'm not afraid of your friends. The truth's out. She stood, gathering the documents, Sarah close behind. As they left, Tate's parting words chilled her, you're not as safe as you think, Miss Harper. Driving back to Memphis, the river's glint in the distance, Emily's phone buzzed, an unknown number. She played the voicemail, Victor's voice cold, you went to Tate. Bad move. You think you've won, but you're playing with bigger players now. Watch your back. The line went dead, and Emily's hands trembled. Tate's confession was a triumph, but Victor's warning suggested a network of powerful figures still guarding their secrets. At the bungalow, Emily locked the door, her heart heavy but resolute. She called Laura, needing her mother's voice after the confrontation. Mom, I faced Tate, she said, her voice soft. He admitted his part in the theft. But Victor's still out there, and he says there's more. Laura's tone was warm, steady. You're braver than I ever was, Emily. Clara would be proud. I'm coming to Memphis tomorrow, we'll face this together, okay? The promise cracked something open in Emily, a hope for healing she hadn't dared to feel. Okay, she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. Sarah, sprawled on the couch, gave her a thumbs up, her presence a constant anchor. Emily reflected on her journey. From a grieving journalist on the brink of losing everything to a woman who'd given Mary Jenkins her voice. Clara's courage, Mary's sacrifice, had shown her the power of truth, of love, of fighting for what mattered. But Victor's warning lingered, a shadow over her triumph. The Memphis night pressed close, Beale Street's distant neon a reminder of the city's heartbeat. Emily wasn't done, she'd publish Tate's confession, keep the scholarship fund growing, and face whatever came next. Clara's voice echoed, the truth's worth finding, no matter how deep it's buried. Emily was ready, her bonds with Laura and Sarah stronger than ever, but one question gnawed at her, was the truth fully out, or was there more to uncover? Hey, reader, what would you do if the truth you won came with a final warning? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one lesson that changed how you see yourself? Emily Harper stood in Graceland's jungle room, the familiar shag carpet and tiki statues bathed in the soft glow of morning light. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of polished wood and history, a quiet contrast to the bustling crowds outside. The hidden vault, once a secret keeper of Mary Jenkins's ledgers and notes, stood empty now, its contents shared with the world through Emily's viral article. She held a small piece of paper, her own note, scrawled in ink, the truth is worth finding, no matter the cost. She slipped it into the vault, a tribute to Mary, Clara, and the journey that had changed her life. The Memphis sun streamed through the windows, and for the first time in months, Emily felt a sense of peace, though a whisper of mystery still lingered. The past weeks had been a whirlwind. Her article, Elvis's Hidden Heart, the maid who saved his legacy, had not only saved her career but reshaped Memphis's understanding of Elvis Presley. Mary Jenkins, once a footnote, was now a celebrated figure, her plaque at Graceland a beacon of her loyalty and sacrifice. The scholarship fund Emily had launched in Mary's name was thriving, funded by donations inspired by Elvis's secret generosity. Emily's confrontation with Richard Tate had exposed his role in Charles Hargrove's theft, and though Victor Hargrove's final warning, "You're playing with bigger players now," had chilled her, no further threats had materialized. Yet, the cryptic note under her door and Laura's hint about a powerful figure still alive kept Emily's instincts sharp. She left the jungle room, her footsteps echoing, and met Sarah and Laura outside. Laura's presence, once a source of pain, now felt like a fragile gift. Their reconciliation had deepened, built on shared memories of Clara and a commitment to face the past together. Sarah, ever the tech-savvy anchor, grinned as she adjusted her backpack. "Ready for the historian?" she asked. "He's been raving about your work." Emily nodded, her heart light but curious. Dr. William Hayes, a Memphis historian specializing in Elvis's era, had requested a meeting to discuss her findings. They drove to a quiet cafe near the Mississippi River, its patio overlooking the water's gentle flow. Hayes, a wiry man with glasses and a warm smile, greeted them with enthusiasm. "Ms. Harper, your article is a game-changer," he said, spreading out copies of the ledgers and Mary's notes. "You've rewritten Elvis's legacy, and Mary's role is extraordinary. But it's the XAI's grok, that fascinates me. Human courage and technology together, uncovering a truth hidden for decades." Emily smiled, thinking of Clara's note mentioning AI, a prescient clue from a woman who'd barely used a radio. "Grok was the key," she said. "Mary's voice in those recordings, it was like she was speaking to us, begging us to listen." Hayes's eyes gleamed. "And there's more. I got a call from Dr. Patel at XAI this morning. They found another recording in the Graceland archives, missed in the initial sweep. Grok isolated Mary's voice again, but this time, she's not speaking, she's singing." Emily's breath caught. "Singing? What?" Hayes pulled out his phone, playing a grainy audio file. Amid the static, Mary's voice emerged, soft and soulful, singing an unreleased Elvis song, its lyrics unfamiliar but haunting. "Keep the heart true, where the river runs deep." The melody was tender, a love letter to Memphis, but a faint spoken phrase followed, "The last gift is safe." The recording ended, leaving Emily stunned. "What does it mean?" Laura asked, her voice trembling. "Another gift?" Hayes shook his head. "We don't know. The song was never released, likely recorded in '77, just before Mary's death. That phrase, 'the last gift,' could mean another donation, another secret. But her singing it, it's like she was preserving Elvis's soul, not just his legacy." Emily's mind raced. The blue suede heart, the ledgers, the betrayal, all pieces of a puzzle she thought she'd solved. But this new recording suggested one more secret, one more gift Mary had hidden. Was it another vault, another note, or something intangible, like the song itself? The thought both thrilled and unsettled her, a reminder that some mysteries endure. They thanked Hayes, stepping onto the patio as the river shimmered under the noon sun. Laura touched Emily's arm, her eyes soft. "Clara would love this," she said. "You've given Mary her voice, and you've given me a chance to make things right. I'm staying in Memphis for a while, if you'll have me." Emily's throat tightened, a warmth spreading through her. "I'd like that, Mom." Sarah, sensing the moment, wandered to the river's edge, giving them space. Emily felt the weight of her journey, from a grieving journalist on the brink of losing everything to a woman who'd faced threats, reconciled with her past, and honored a legacy. Clara's courage, Mary's sacrifice, had taught her to listen with her heart, to chase truth no matter the cost. But Victor's warning and the cryptic note lingered, a shadow that hadn't fully lifted. Was the bigger player still out there, watching? Emily stood by the river, its current a mirror of her thoughts, steady, yet ever moving. She thought of Clara's voice, soft by the fireplace, the truth's worth finding, no matter how deep it's buried. Mary's final message, her song, was a call to keep searching, to keep believing in the heart of Memphis. Emily turned to Laura and Sarah, their faces bright with shared purpose. "There's one more gift out there," she said, her voice resolute. "I don't know what it is, but I'll find it. For Mary, for Clara, for us." The river flowed on, and Emily felt ready, for the mysteries ahead, for the family she was rebuilding, for a future shaped by courage and love. Hey, reader, what would you do if one last mystery called your name? Hit subscribe and comment with where you're reading from. What's one truth that's shaped your life?